All right, and we're here with Vernon Jones from Georgia. Vernon, thank you for taking the time to stop by here at the RSBN booth. One of the things I'm curious about is, since you're from Georgia, how does Georgia kind of turn it around? Because Georgia was at the center of attention all throughout the election cycle, and now the Senate flipped blue because of that. So what are your thoughts on Georgia and how we can kind of turn that around?
Well, first of all, let me say I'm honored to be here. I love this place. I like being on the right side. And so thank you all for having me. You know, Georgia, let me be clear, Georgia is a red state. Georgia's not a blue state. There were a number of things that led up to us losing those 2 Senate seats, and they were narrowly lost. Obviously, one of the things was, in my opinion, the Republican Party did not run in a pack like they should have run in a pack. I think the Republican Party did not focus like Donald Trump did on reaching out and really having a significant part of their campaign efforts to reach out to minorities. The next thing, after the election, remember, like a lot of us don't know this, a lot of people don't know this, but in 2018 when Stacey Abrams lost, she didn't narrowly lose. She lost by wide margin, although the media give you a different narrative.
Right.
She lost getting into the runoff by 55,000 votes. And so that's a big difference. So she cut this backroom deal, and I'm disappointed to say, with our Secretary of State, who's Republican, Raffensperger, and that created that vacuum where mail-in ballots became a huge issue. We had never had that deal where mail-in ballots were so wide and so broad and so open for corruption or fraud. And so that created a lot of issues because you had Stacey Abrams and those other groups from outside of Georgia targeting Georgians, and those who used to live in Georgia who had not changed their registration, they were getting information, ballot request forms, and they lived outside of Georgia, so it was so open. That created the problem. Now, looking forward, Republicans are coming together like no other time. I think what they did is awaken a sleeping giant across this country in terms of Republicans, period. You're seeing now, as we speak, legislation going through the legislature that is providing limits on who can vote absentee now, because it went from only those who are handicapped and those who are seniors to now anybody, anywhere could be targeted. So those loopholes are being closed. And so 2022, with the support of Donald Trump and others, we're going to take it in 2022. We have one of those senators up, Warnock is up for re-election. And let me tell you, things are not going to be the same. And so we look forward to a win in 2022.
Yeah, and one of the things I feel like kind of goes under the radar a little bit is Brian Kemp.
Yeah.
Now, Brian Kemp obviously was the focal point of what happened, and it looked like he didn't answer the call.
Right.
Do you think that Brian Kemp will run for re-election? And if he does, do you think he will win? And how's that going to go?
Well, you know what, you said something that was true. When Brian Kemp appointed Kelly Loeffler over Doug Collins, which was the president's preferred choice, I think that was the beginning of the split. Now, what you see happening now, Brian Kemp is rushing to get this legislation through to deal with election fraud, with the mail-in ballots. I believe he's going to run, but he will not have an easy pathway for his primary. Neither will the lieutenant governor or the secretary of state. They're all are targeted. And I can understand why. However, with that being said, Republicans got to remember, our goal is to defeat Democrats. When you make a decision, there are consequences. The governor, a lot of people feel like the governor, lieutenant governor, and secretary of state did not stand up for them in terms of really answering the questions that hung out there with voter fraud and election fraud. And that is definitely cost them to be primary.
Absolutely. Well, maybe Mr. Vernon Jones will, make a move in the state of Georgia.
Let me tell you, as my term ended, I didn't seek re-election. I left the field, but I haven't left the stadium, if that tells you anything. I am carrying my message through wakingupamerica.us, my new conservative organization. We're going throughout the country. We're talking about school choice, fighting socialism and Marxism, faith-based, hard work, small businesses, those things that everyday average Americans can deal with, which are conservative values. And also, obviously, to recruit more minorities, of all ilk to the Republican Party, because that's where the future of the Republican Party lies, within minorities, because that's the only place they can go to and find conservative votes. Liberal whites are not going to come over to the Republican Party. But like me and others who felt like the party left us, we didn't leave the party, but the party left us, we're coming over. And that's why the left and the liberals and the liberal media are afraid of people that look like me and look like you, because just like Joe Biden said, he thinks because we're black, we're supposed to vote Democrat.
Yeah.
And so, you know, he has the right yo-yo, but the wrong string. All right, so we coming.
That's right.
And they're going to feel the burn for sure.
They sure are. Feel the burn.
Yes.
All right. Appreciate you taking the time to meet with us today.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.